Alrighty, well here we are with the first video, starting off the big man build, and this is really just going to focus on testing how this Foamular XPS foam bonds to my FRP panels, or FRP-like panels. And for you guys I've been talking with on the forums, the first thing I'm noticing right off the bat, this is the 250. I don't know if it's going to come through very well. You can kind of see it on the tiger or the lion or whatever character animal he is that there's impressions everywhere where all the print is. You know, maybe just a millimeter or two, so it probably doesn't matter that much. But conversely, the 400, which is sitting on top here, does not have these. It visibly appears quite a bit smoother. So that might help with adhesion. And yeah, just loading these two, there's a 250 sheet on the bottom and a 400 on top. Loading them into the back of the flatbed, didn't really feel, like a massive weight difference between the 25 and the 40 psi. So yeah, I'll cut some pieces off and make some test coupons here in a second. Here you guys go, just another clip, show you the texture of this Versatex panel from US Liner Company. It's got a light, let's see if it'll focus or if I can find it. See, there you go. It's got a light, very light texture to it. You would have to be, the light at the helicopters flying overhead. So yeah, the light would have to be hitting it correctly in order for you to see that. Yeah, and then here on the back, you could see the cloth. It's very, it's light. It's not really, doesn't feel like it's going to come off or anything. So we'll see how that does. Maybe it'll soak up the epoxy and stuff. Got to figure out how I'm going to cut this stuff. I went with the 1.6 millimeter thickness, 65 thousandths for our non-metric inclined friends. So yeah, that's kind of a quick look at the two materials. So here's a better view of what I'm talking about with this print indentation. So here's the 400. Set my high quality scale on it. Let me hold it right. And you can see it's basically flat all the way across. But then we come over to the 250 and you can very easily see the divot I'm talking about. I mean, I don't think it matters, but it's interesting because when you have areas, say this same amount of print, but on the 250 is a whole area that's sunk down by a good, looks like, a millimeter, maybe a millimeter and a half. So interesting thing to note there, and the difference between the two panels. All right, there we go. Just did a quick, maybe 1 second passes across the surface, just enough to remove the shiny kind of gloss with the 60 grit on the orbital palm sander. And yeah, I got my Solar Composites resin. Go grab my scale, the wife's cooking scale, and measure out some epoxy to lightly coat these with and glue these two panels on, test for delam in a couple days. Alright, so here we are. Sanded, cut out panels, talked about that already. Composite, scale, condomified. And I'm thinking I'm just going to use this piece of wood, 2x10 looks like, to set across these two pieces to kind of apply pressure to the surface. I tried it already, just dry, and it's definitely not ideal. I see why Sawtooth Unlimited built his vacuum table to maybe try and get even pressure everywhere. I don't exactly have space. Maybe if I just completely took over the backyard for a big vacuum table like that, but so that'll be interesting. But this way, honestly, I'll see it as a positive, where if the corners are pre-lifted up by a couple millimeters, it'll give me something to grab onto and try and peel it better and see how that works. So I think I'm going to do 50-ish grams of the epoxy and see how well that spreads over the two of them. Got another cup in case that's not enough. And yeah, I need to grab a paintbrush, spread it around with. But it should be good, and then we'll be on to the drying phase. Alright, here we go. Got the resin on there. You can see maybe a smidge heavy. I don't know. I didn't even use I've maybe used 2/3 of the 60 grams I ended up with. Yeah, so I'll flip the panels on, put the wood on, and let it sit. And also to note, it is my outdoor thermometer over there says it's 80 degrees outside, so ideal, good enough temperatures for resin. All right, there we go. Flip the panels on. Got the 400 here on the left and the 250 on the right. I mean, that's a cut edge and that's a factory edge. They don't really look that different when you cut them. I massaged the panels on by hand just to kind of give them a fighting chance. They seem to stick all right. I mean, you can see here the edge of the 400's good and this edge of the 250's fine. And I'm interested. I might do a test to see just how well that fabric soaks up the on the back of the FRP, the Versatex, how well it soaks up the resin. I mean, I guess I've got some left, so I could just go pour it on there. But dinner is calling, so there this will sit for the next couple days and report back. All right, well, against my better judgment, even though dinner is ready and waiting, I ran and cut us a little piece. Just put a little dab of the remaining mixed up epoxy on there and see we can observe how well it wets out on this this material on the back. Try and I don't want it to get yeah, I mean, if you look at those, the edge up there doesn't come through super great on the camera, but it does look like it's wetting out the cloth. You can really see it in that color kind of contrast there, where I got a dirty smudge on this stuff. So that bodes well. We'll see. I'll leave this guy hanging out, expose the elements, see how it fares, and go from there. As a side note, they are not kidding when they say you need to spread out your epoxy. I mean, that's probably 3/8, half an inch in the bottom of this red Dixie cup. And it melted, and it is, I mean, too hot to hold your fingers on it's right at the limit of being too hot to hold your fingers on right now, and it's almost entirely cured. So, I mean, be careful with that.